Hey, welcome to the first lecture. I'm supporting your reading this week on the River of Philosophy and just adding a few more. I shouldn't say adding too much, but I'm giving you a little bit more historical context. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about not only the background of philosophy itself and the various ideas that we're going to find along this river that's introduced to us, but also the kind of context which we find ourselves as Christians, some of the influences that this river of philosophy, especially at its very origins, have profoundly impacted Christianity and even things that we believe today. And so, although we won't cover all of them, I think it could be interesting to just provide some information that wasn't necessarily given in the text. I will be adding these supplementary readings, although you don't have to read them this week. They're just for there in case you need them as sources for the future, or in case you are interested and you do want to learn more. So, in the River of Philosophy, our narrator talks about Socrates, Plato's teacher, and his death. And um, honestly, I don't have the book right in front of me, so I'm sorry if that's a spoiler and that doesn't come until chapter one, but I'm pretty sure it happens in the introduction. But we need to talk about Socrates anyway, because he's kind of the beginning of our starting point. That's kind of how far we're going back. Although philosophy has deep roots in what the Western world, even older than 399 BC. So this is almost 400 years before the birth of Christ. Um, but Socrates is kind of the starting point for us. The earliest philosopher that we read in this class is Plato. You'll be reading him next week, The Allegory of the Cave. And Socrates is executed because of the fact that he's a philosopher. I think in ancient times, even in our own religion, right, our kind of leader, the reason that our religion started, Christianity, was because of Christ, is executed by the Romans. And there is a really close relationship between ancient Greece and ancient Rome. And you can Google it. In fact, I think I did, right? So let's look here. If you Google the relationship between ancient Greece and ancient Rome, I wanted to show you how easy this was. Really, world at your fingertips, y'all. But the Romans gained from the Greek influence in other areas: trade, banking, administration, art, literature, philosophy, and earth science. And it's prominent people from Rome would send their kids to Greece to study and to learn. And so really close relationships. So we're thinking about, our guy we're thinking about now is Christ and his execution. That happened in Rome. And so ancient Greece, ancient Rome, these cultures are very closely linked, even at the time of Christ. And so we're talking 400 years before Christ is on the scene with Socrates. But the thought and the way that things worked within culture and the classes and just everything, the democracy that was created in Greece, the republic, which our country was founded on even today, existed at that time. And so we have that as a huge impact on Rome. And why do I bring that up? Well, how do we get from Socrates, to Christ, to the formation of the Christian religion, to Christianity actually becoming the most common belief system, and not, these philosophical ideas, or not the multiple gods that we will see at this time, which is 300 years before Christ's death. Obviously, Christianity doesn't exist yet. Judaism does, but not Christianity. So how do we get from Socrates to the event of Christ to Christianity actually being a major world religion, and actually the religion of ancient Greece and ancient Rome? How do we get to that point? Well, About 300 years after the birth of Christ, we have a Roman emperor. Now, remember, back in the day, both Greek and Roman emperors, they kind of ruled the world. Their goal was imperialism. Whoever kind of got that spot as emperor was really kind of a more of a global emperor. And I don't know if you've heard this guy, but his name is Constantine, and he was the first Roman emperor to convert to Christianity. And of course, I'm going to share this on the link. In a battle in 312 AD, so about 300 years after the event of Christ's birth. Now, Socrates was about 400 years before that. So we've got about a 700-year span at this point, which that's getting up there, almost 1,000 years. That's quite a long time from Socrates to the moment of Christ to Constantine. And that battle happens at 312. Well, basically, Constantine has a vision. He has a vision of a cross. Apparently, other people on the field saw it as well. And at this point, the spread of Christianity is pretty deep. If any of you guys are in any other courses, like biblical studies courses at Judson, you might have learned that Paul the apostle, he went to Rome and he really established Christianity there. And so a lot of people had been converting to Christianity in both Greece and Rome and along the Mediterranean, in the Middle East as well, where, everything happened and Christ was actually born. So the Western world is becoming strongly influenced by Christianity. But I'll tell you what, when Constantine actually converted, that's really why we practice Christianity today. This was a big event here where we live. That's why we've got Christmas trees. That's why we've got the calendar that we have. It really made a huge impact on the history of the world. And Christianity at this point becomes a major player in the world. So we've got that 700-year span from Socrates developing, and Plato and Aristotle, and you're going to maybe heard those names in the intro, in that river of philosophy where they're really asking these really big questions about their reality and about the world. You then have the event of Christ, and now 300 years later, you have Christianity. But Christianity is born, Constantine is Roman, he's got Greek roots, and Christianity is born into this very Greco-Roman world, and it is highly, highly influenced by the philosophical ideas that were around it. So there's some things coming up, Allegory of the Cave, but then we get into perception, we get into the philosophy of the mind, where we start investigating like the soul, the mind, and the body, things like that. And it's just interesting to think how profoundly that these Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle actually played a big role in the formation of how we did theology in the early church and how we thought about the world in the early church. And so, although, they're not the same thing, Christianity was indeed highly influenced in practice by the ancient Greco-Roman world. So I just wanted to share that with you as you're reading this introduction. You're getting to introduce to some of these historical figures. I thought I'd just put that into context for you. Like I said, I'll share these extra resources with you in case you ever need them for class, if you want to study this a little bit more, or, you just need them in the future. All right, so this is just lecture 1. This is the introduction. I wanted to give you a little connection to the event of Christ and the span of time we're talking about here and the geography. So if you got any questions, please just reach out, and I'll see you next time.